All right, so today we're into module 3, and we've already gone through, we've made a primitive building, and primitive building was just about using the navigation tools, navigating the camera, and navigating individual objects with move, scale, and rotate. We probably didn't use a lot of rotate, some of you may have, but the idea is just to get comfortable in the software. Now today we're actually going to start using a tool or a technique that's more common in actual design, actual modeling. Nobody models things in a primitive way, right? The primitive is just a way to kind of get an idea of the software. But this is the first tool we want to talk about is the extrude tool. And with everything, when you're working with clay, you generally go ahead and you would start and you would pick up the size of the clay that you needed to make the thing. And then you would shape that clay into the shapes that you wanted. In 3D modeling or 3D graphics or digital modeling, digital graphics, we don't necessarily do it that way. We can start with a shape. We can mold it and modify it in ways, but generally we start with a shape and then we add more detail to that shape. Now, what I mean is, we have one box, maybe we want two boxes, right? Or we want a shape that really is going to look like this, right? Now, instead of just scaling the first one up, now we've actually got like an edge in the middle, and we can do something with that edge. If we wanted to, we could, let me come to edit mode, and edge. And we want to select the edge, and we can move it around, right? And if we selected both of these edges here, then we can move them both up together, or I guess independently of one another. Go back to object mode, select the other object, go back to edit mode, and edge, grab this edge and move it up to match its friend. So now we have two boxes, two shapes, and we've blended them together to fit. But that's a lot of work, right? We duplicated the shape, it gave us that detail in the middle, but that's not necessarily the easiest way to do it. In fact, it's a terrible way to do it. The way that we add more detail is not through creating more meshes like we did in the primitive. It's through modifying the mesh or the object. When I say mesh, I mean the actual shape object that we have, by modifying the object that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select just a face here. So your selection techniques, you can select a vertex, which is the corners. You can select an edge, which connects two corners. Or you can select a face, which usually connects four edges. Once you select the face, you can move that one face around, and sometimes that's enough to get you the shape you want. Sometimes you need to select an edge like we did previously, and that's enough to get you kind of the shape that you want. You can do a lot with that. You can also scale and rotate faces or edges. So if I scaled this, then I can get a different shape. And sometimes that's enough. You can even do it with vertexes. If you hold down Shift, you can select more than one face or edge or vertex, whatever mode that you're in. And then you can scale just those vertexes. And you can get a lot of interesting shapes using these, but sometimes you just need more detail. So this week is about how to go through and get that extra detail. I'm going to start with the face. I'm going to come to the face option and extrude faces. And what that does is it gives me those two boxes that we had before. But if I were to go to edge mode now and select this edge in the middle and move it, the boxes are connected. So that's what I'm talking about when I say adding. I'll say add geometry or add detail. We've extruded a face, and even though we only extruded this one face, what that means is it's going to pull that face off. And this is the same as we did before. It's like scaling the face out, but it gives more face detail in between the face you selected and the original object. Notice if I'm just moving the face, it's stretching all of these faces together. But if I extrude the face, extrude faces, then I can pull it out, and it's not stretching these faces here, it's actually creating new geometry or new detail. So that's what I'm talking about when I say extrude. And you can do that with one face at a time, which is pretty cool, or you can do it with multiple faces. So if I come to face, then I can extrude faces. Now sometimes, sometimes you'll extrude them too far. You can just move it back. That's not a big deal. But sometimes you see how when I made it, all of these faces are connected. Sometimes you don't want to connect the faces. Sometimes you want them to be individual. In that case, you'd come up to face and extrude individual faces. Now this is different. It looks pretty much the same, but when you come in and you actually start scaling them down or moving them, then you'll notice that they aren't connected. It's actually created a lot more faces in between. So we have a little primitive spaceship here just by moving around and extruding faces. Now, you can extrude faces, and that's pretty easy. You can also extrude edges. And this is not something that we're going to do as much of, especially in this class, just because of the nature of the way that we design. But there will be times where you need to come in and you'll grab an edge. So you go to Edge Selection, you'll grab the edge, then you go to Edge and Extrude Edges. And that does the same thing as the face, right? It creates a new edge and it connects the two edges together with another face. It's not something we're going to do right now. For the most part, we're only going to be using the extrude faces. And that's basically the gist of the extrude tool. So I'm going to select on face, I'm going to grab this and delete it. Oh, delete. Let's see, dissolve edges? No. Delete. I would like to delete the faces. There we go. So I'll select on it, face, select. If I press delete on the keyboard, then I can choose what I want to delete. Usually I want to select the faces. Again, most of what we're doing right now is just working with the faces, or even maybe more of the generic object shape. And that is the extrude tool. So again, you'll select what you want, face, extrude faces, and then you can move that face off, and that gives you more detail to work with. And that's it. Again, simple task. Scaling is R, rotating is E, and moving is W. The general principle is you want to create the face and then shape the face to be where you want it to go. And that's the extrude tool. In the next video, we'll talk about some other tools. This week is about learning a lot of different tools, and then we're going to build a project out of all of that. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.